Episode 1110, the Alexander Nilsson on freediving. This is going to be a fantastic episode. But before we dive in, I want to make maybe a public service announcement, get something off my chest announcement. The hosting service that we use inserts advertising from a variety of different advertisers, and we can't pre-select what ads we run and which ones we don't run, except that we can choose categories. I can say, no, not that category. Yeah, this category is fine. And so I've tried to choose categories that I feel like are in good alignment with the Adventure Sports Podcast main purpose and mission here. When we founded the Adventure Sports Podcast 10 years ago, we agreed that we would try to not talk about things like politics. And the main reason was because we wanted to focus on adventure sports and the benefits that they have for everyone. And we didn't want this to become a political show. We just figured there are other formats for that. I'm not opposed to it. I just know that this show is about adventure sports. So the other day, I played back one of the episodes as it had been posted, and I was really surprised that there was advertising about THC use, about marijuana, about how to buy marijuana. I feel like that is a political topic. I have heard arguments on why marijuana can benefit society and individuals, and I've heard arguments on how marijuana can cause a lot of harm with other individuals. And I'm not here to promote or not promote it. I'm doing adventure sports, but I believe that marijuana is really a political topic, and I want to apologize. I had worked with the hosting service to try to eliminate any marijuana or a THC type commercials. You may notice we also don't advertise alcohol and things like that. A similar reason. Thought I had it handled, but that's still happening. So I'm going to continue to work with a hosting service to try to get those types of ads removed, because I don't really feel like they're in alignment with the podcast. And if that's something that seemed pretty volatile in your mind, if that's a kind of a hot topic, well, I apologize, because that's not what we intend for the Adventure Sports Podcast. But if it continues, if you hear more ads like that in the future, please know I am working with the hosting service to try to eliminate them. But regretfully, they don't have a category for marijuana. So those ads are getting inserted, and they may not even know that it's happening at this point because it's an automated process. So anyway, I just wanted to mention it because it bothered me when I realized that something that I consider to be very political was being promoted on the Adventure Sports Podcast. So thank you for bearing with me while I get that off my chest. I'm just going to leave it there. Dive into the episode. This is going to be a fantastic one. Thank you so much for being a part of the Adventure Sports Podcast family. Hey friends, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. We have a returning guest today who was on the show in 2022. It was episode 860. And I'm especially excited about this one. And the reason is because I've never interviewed anyone on this topic, and I used to do it just a little, kind of scratch the surface of what this might be about, but it's something I used to find so fascinating. I still do, so fascinating. We're talking about free diving, not only like snorkeling and diving without scuba gear, but going to depth and doing depth competitions for free diving. Today's guest is Alexander Nilsson. He is the Swedish freediving record holder, and I'm going to let him explain way more about this because I don't know nearly enough. But Alex, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Curt, and thank you for having me back and having me talking about freediving. I usually tell my students, because I'm teaching freediving a lot, and I tell them the thing that I love the most is to freedive, and the second thing is to talk about freediving. So I'm happy to be here talking about it with you.
Well, I'm glad we can be part of your second favorite thing. That's great.
Yeah.
I would also like to be a little bit more a part of your first favorite thing. So rewinding a little bit, I mentioned to you that I do scuba diving, and well, I love scuba diving. The equipment makes it, well, it's the difference between riding a motorcycle and riding a bicycle, or running versus riding a bicycle even. To be able to do something that's completely under your own human power, and to do it without all of the weight and the accoutrements and the gear and the mechanisms, that there's something special about that, a purity that speaks to me. It won't stop me from scuba diving, but I've always enjoyed the idea of snorkeling and diving, fairly deep, maybe 30 or 40 feet, and hanging out for a while and then going back up. And it's always just been so fascinating to me. So, Alexander, will you share with us how you discovered freediving and what it was about it that got you into it?
Yeah, so it also resonates with me when you were saying that it's something about going under the water without any gear.
Yeah.
That's also partly what got me into it. When I was a kid, I really loved the Big Blue, this movie,
Yes.
Le Grand Bleu.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that put a seed in me when I was a kid, and then I was backpacking around Asia when I was around 21, 22, and I saw this sign in Thailand. I remember, try freediving, and I didn't know that you could actually do freediving courses and try it for yourself. I thought it was only people competing in it. So then I
Yes.
tried it, and I got hooked. And then I could just continue doing it. I had a really good freediving instructor who just told me that she saw that I had some kind of talent in it. Like, I could go quite deep, quite fast. On my first course, I think I went to 20 meters, 25 meters
Wow.
after just 2 days. And yeah,
So that's pretty good. I've never attempted to go that deep, but I will share this. It was a dumb thing, but I ran out of air on my first scuba dive at 70 feet, and so I had to at least do a free ascent from that depth.
sounds dangerous in scuba as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit more risk involved when you're trying to get to the surface, with pressurized air versus non-pressurized air. So
Yeah, for sure.
anyway, that's amazing. So you went really deep right out of the chute, and this was, you said, in Thailand?
In Thailand, on an island called Koh Lanta, uh, that's where I was backpacking back then, and it's also something about like when you hear from me, it was the instructor who told me that, she saw something, she saw that I was good in it, and to hear that from someone and to see that you were actually quite good, you continue doing it, right?
Right. It's encouraging.
It's encouraging. Like if a teacher tells you that you're good on a subject, you become better at it usually. And for me, it was freediving. So she told me that, yeah, you're good at it. You should continue. I listened to her, and I loved it. And she told me one thing in the end of the course: you should continue to do the next course, because then you will experience something called a free fall. Maybe I will
Oh,
go in a little bit into what
yeah.
that is.
Please do.
Yeah, so in freediving, what keeps you afloat on the surface is your lungs, is the air in your
Hmm.
lungs. And the deeper you go, the more compressed the air gets.
Yes.
So you become heavier in a sense. Your body becomes heavier. So the deeper you go, the heavier you become. So at around 15 meters, you become neutrally buoyant. So you neither float or you sink. So you just stay there. But if you go past 15 meters, you go to 20 meters, around there, you will start sinking like a rock.
Oh, wow.
And when she told me about this is what got my attention, and I just wanted to experience this. And when I experienced this feeling of the free fall, it was the most amazing feeling that I've ever had. And I just wanted to free fall even deeper, to extend this time on the free fall. So you free fall faster and faster also for each meter that you go, because your lungs get smaller and smaller for each meter you get down.
Right.
Um, So at around 20 meters, your lungs is 1/3 of what they were on the surface.
Obviously, our lungs are very flexible. We can do
Yeah.
this without hurting ourselves. But I can't imagine. I know that there are listeners out there who are saying, wait a minute, you're holding your breath from the surface, you're going deep enough, you lose all your buoyancy, and then you begin to accelerate deeper and deeper and deeper. Alex, that's a little bit terrifying.
I agree.
That sounds a lot like drowning.
Yeah.
So explain to us how it's different than drowning or, that sort of thing. How do you get back up? How do you have the confidence to go that deep? What does it feel like? Those sorts of things.
Yeah. So first of all, most freedivers are a bit crazy, to start with. There's something about like the same thing when you do crazy like free solo climbing or you do some kind of extreme sport.
Right.
It's some kind of personality type that probably goes into it, and I've I've been drawn to this kind of adventures my entire life, So I haven't been scared about doing it, and that's probably helped. Being a bit crazy. I think that's that's required of being able, especially to compete in this sport. That helps. But besides that, it's also very calculated. So it's a lot of people they think that freedivers are adrenaline junkies, and it's actually the opposite. Because in other extreme sports like downhill skiing and so on, you need adrenaline.
Sure.
And here is the opposite. You need to be as calm as possible to do it. So you have to be able to calm down.
Are you able to um are you able to adjust your heart rate? Are you able to relax your body so that you can go without air longer? Has it become something where you have a way to speak to your internal organs and make it work?
So that's when the breathing comes into play. That's when, and that's what you learn also in the freediving course, how to breathe to adjust your heart rate. Because you can lower your heart rate just by breathing in a specific pattern. And I can just tell you briefly how one can do it. Someone who's listening to the show now, you extend the exhale. That's one trick you can do. So for me, it's usually like I inhale for 5 seconds, very slowly, and then I exhale for 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And just by doing that, my heart rate will slow down.
And by slowing down your heart rate, does that mean that your body is using less oxygen?
Yeah. So we want to have as low heart rate as possible. That's number one. To be able to calm down, to get the heart rate really low. And then even though you don't get a low heart rate before the dive, our body will react by being in the water. We have something in our body that is called mammalian dive response, mammalian dive reflex. I don't know, not that many people have heard about this. As soon as we put our face in the water, our heart rate will slow down. And this is called bradycardia. So you've probably seen in the movies that people splash water in their face.
Yes.
Yes, before they go into an important meeting or so on, or something like this. And this actually works because when we put cold water on our face, we have sensors around our nose and our eyes here that detects when we get water on the face. And as soon as we get water on the face, our heart rate will slow down. And this happens automatically on everyone. And this is something that we share with other sea-living mammals like dolphins, seals, all the sea-dwelling animals. They have it to a greater extent, of course, but we have it. All humans have it. Everyone who's listening now, your heart rate will slow down when you put your face in the water. You have this inbuilt mechanism that will make your body be able to free dive, actually. We don't really know yet why we have this. It's kind of a mystery why
It
we
sounds
have
like
it.
a good survival
it's a
mechanism.
good survival mechanism. Some people think that it was when we were, because we lived very close to the coastline back in the days when we were hunters and gatherers, and that
Right.
might be thanks to that. But I can feel that when I put my face in the water, I calm down. And I tried this on myself actually. I put my face in the water. I had a pulse oximeter on me, and I was measuring my heart rate. I put my face in the water. It went from around 80 beats per minute to around 37 in 1 minute.
Wow.
So that's
So less than half. So when
yeah.
you said slow down, I was thinking, okay, it's going to slow down some, maybe 25%, but you're talking about 50% slower.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, the more you do it, the more you train this. It's called mammalian dive response that we have, and the more you do it, the more it will kick in. The stronger it will kick in.
Okay, I like to do the public service announcements or public safety announcements
Yeah.
with all of these topics because adventure sports done correctly are wonderful and beneficial and can be very, very safe. But when people start doing them the wrong way, people can get hurt. And free diving is certainly one of those where I think people could get hurt. Matter of fact, I recently interviewed a guest who he had shallow water hypoxia. So he was in a swimming pool. He was holding his breath. He was only in about 4 feet of water, but he blacked out and no one knew it. And so he did drown. They had to resuscitate him, and he survived, obviously, to tell the story. But this can happen. You don't have to go deep to get into trouble. And so, Alex, will you share with us what are some of the safety mechanisms we need
Yeah.
to be aware of?
Yeah, that's good that you were mentioning that. This is one of the main thing that I'm teaching when I'm teaching a course. I'm telling people, like, if you don't remember anything, remember one thing, that is to never free dive alone. And when we say don't free dive alone, it's like it doesn't matter if you go out free diving with your mother or your spouse or anything. You have to be free diving with someone who knows how to react if something happens, if you faint on the water.
Yes.
It has to be someone that knows how to react and how to wake someone up from a blackout. It's simpler than most people think, actually. The first thing that you have to do is to take the airways above the surface. Usually
Right.
take one hand above, under the chin here, and one hand here. Take them above the water, and then take off the facial equipment, like the mask usually. And then after you've done that, we do something which is called blow, tap, talk. So blow, tap, talk. There's 3 things you have to remember. Blow on the cheeks. Blow, like you just blow air on the cheeks.
Right.
And then you tap here on the cheeks. Like I was mentioning before, you have the sensors here.
Yes.
And then the last thing, blow, tap, talk. So you say the person's name and you tell them to breathe. Those 3 things is sufficient to wake someone up. Because when someone has blacked out, they still have plenty of oxygen in their system, but their brain has shut down to save this oxygen that they have. Because the body
Okay.
recognizes that they're still underwater, that it's not safe, and then you faint pretty much underwater. And then you just have to bring them up and to remind the system that it's safe to breathe again.
That's
So that's
terrifying
it.
again, but it makes sense. And
Yeah.
if you have someone there to help, I mean, that's the difference between life and death. It's that simple.
Yeah, so just knowing this for all the listeners, blow, tap, talk, getting the person above the surface and do this is enough. We're not talking cardiac arrest here. We're not talking CPR or anything because the
Right.
heart's still beating, everything is still working. The brain has just shut down to save the oxygen that's still there. You just have to remind the system to start breathing again.
Wow. So, Alexander, the only time that I experienced anything remotely similar was that the Eisenhower Tunnel in Colorado is a very long tunnel under the Continental Divide. And we used to play a game where we would try to hold our breath through the tunnel. Now, it takes a minute and a half, sometimes 2 minutes to get through the tunnel. And you're at, I'm going to say about 11,000 feet, maybe 11,500 feet. So the oxygen level's pretty thin to start with. And I remember once I made it through the tunnel, but I almost blacked out. I lost half of my vision and felt fuzzy headed, and I was like, "Whoa, that was too much." Have you experienced that doing free diving?
Yeah, I've been experiencing one episode of like a close to blackout where I was. It was on my first freediving competition, and I was going down to 70 meters, so 70, and then I was a bit because it was the first freediving competition I went to. I was a bit nervous, and I think that's also caused me to hyperventilate. So I was hyperventilating a little bit, and you shouldn't do that in freediving. You should just breathe normally. I will go into the breathing pattern later, but here I was breathing too much, and on the way up, when I came up to the surface, I had a short episode of just my head fell backwards and I blacked out for a few seconds. I came back by myself.
Wow.
So it was nothing too dramatic, but that was the closest one. And I've been freediving for around 10 years now, and I've never experienced a blackout since then.
Okay, so we were just talking about shallow water hypoxia and how it can happen, and then you mentioned hyperventilating. So let's go ahead and address that while we're on the topic.
Yeah, so hyperventilation is, a lot of people, they confuse it with a crazy breathing, like
Right.
breathing very loudly and heavily and so on. But hyperventilation is also everything that you when you breathe more than you have to. So when we're sitting like this and we're just talking, our body is relaxed, and our body knows how it has like how much it needs to breathe. So if I take one big inhale and an exhale, that's hyperventilation. I breathe more than I
Okay.
have to.
Yep.
It's just over breathing. So that's enough for hyperventilation. And when we free dive, we want to breathe as normally as possible, because
Interesting.
we want to have something called carbon dioxide, because when we breathe, we have different gases in our body. And carbon dioxide is
Right.
one. And when someone starts holding their breath, they will not stop holding their breath because they are low on oxygen. They will stop holding their breath because they have high levels of CO2, carbon dioxide.
So the hyperventilating, how does that impact the carbon dioxide?
Hyperventilating is then you flush out the carbon dioxide. So the more you breathe, the lower amount of carbon dioxide you will have. So if you breathe very heavily, your carbon dioxide levels will drop,
Okay.
and that will also make you have a easier breath hold. You will not get the urge to breathe, because urge to breathe comes from carbon dioxide.
Well, that might feel more comfortable, but it sounds to me like now your body's not doing what it's supposed to naturally do.
Exactly, exactly. So it makes the breath hold easier, but you also, for once, you don't get the alarm bell that you need to be like, okay, now it's time to go up and start breathing again,
Okay.
because you feel so good down there, and you think that you can hold your breath forever. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is also your body is not efficient with oxygen if you don't have carbon dioxide.
Oh.
You need carbon dioxide to release the oxygen in your body. So it's one of the most important thing when we start freediving is to get used to these high levels of carbon dioxide, to be
Okay.
okay with it.
So let me recap on that just a little bit. Number one, don't do heavy breathing before a dive. I think that's a number one. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I think kids have always done this in the swimming pool. They think, oh, if I breathe a lot more, I can hold my breath longer. What you're saying is that's dangerous
Hmm.
because you're messing up your blood oxygen and your blood carbon dioxide levels. Your body gets confused, and that can cause you to black out.
Exactly. Uh, you think that you will be able to hold your breath much longer than you actually can. Like there will be no warning before you black out.
Okay, that's so don't do that. So it's a matter of breathing normally. You already gave the example, but I can imagine knowing you're getting ready to do a really deep dive, being excited about that, and breathing a little bit faster than maybe you should. And you already mentioned that. How can people avoid it? I mean, okay, you mentioned before we started here that mindfulness is a big part of this sport. And I guess that's
Mhm.
where I'm headed with this. To breathe properly, the self awareness, to be able to manage that, we even talked about dropping one's heart rate. It sounds like that's a big part of what this sport is.
Mhm. Yeah, freediving is, I would say, 90% mental
Wow.
and 10% body. So it's so much mind. You don't have to be in great physical shape to be able to dive to really deep depths. You need to be able to control your mind and to also be able to relax, even though it's kind of like a stressful situation. You have to be able to calm down.
Right.
So that's the main thing in freediving, where when you have high levels of carbon dioxide, you really want to breathe. You have to be able to control that, control your nervous system, and to calm down. And when it comes to the breathing that we do before, and the breathing that I do before, say that I will do like an 85-meter dive, I would breathe normally, and I will shift my focus to breathing only with my stomach, and just focus on the breathing. And that gets me into a very calm state. And then uh, and also then I have normal levels of carbon dioxide, and I have you always. And the thing is, also people get confused about. There's some people that I don't know if you've heard of Wim Hof method and so on, that where
Yes.
you say that where if you breathe more, you oxygenate the body, and that's a pretty hot topic. But you you and me, we right now we have 100% oxygen, between 98 to 100% oxygen. We have that all the time. Uh, we cannot really have more than 100% of oxygen. We cannot
Right.
breathe ourselves into more oxygen than we have now. So it's not about breathing more, it's about breathing calmly and to relax our mind and our body before we dive.
How does that extend to other areas of your life? Learning that calmness and that self awareness and that self control. I mean, it's hard not to take a breath when your body is screaming for air. So
Yeah,
how's that impacted things that you do besides diving?
yeah, it impacted everything.
Really?
Yeah, I was a week ago, I was on a diving trip to Turkey. I was doing deep dives for 2 weeks there, and just on and on every day. And then, you know, when we free dive, we're it's one of our more primal instincts that we have is to breathe, right?
Sure.
Like, and to be able to be okay with not breathing translates to other parts of our lives as well. So after all these dives in Turkey that I did, I'm going on to the airport in Antalya, and there are a bunch of people,
Right.
and they're standing in line, and the flight was delayed, and people are behind me and in front of me screaming, and you're like, oh, we want to go home. And and there it's quite, especially in airports, I feel like then it becomes very clear to me like what it can do, because I'm a few days ago I've been down 60 plus meters, and just uh, have been having a really enjoyable dives and having this urge to breathe and saying no to it. And now I'm in this situation where a flight is delayed, and in comparison to where I've been a few days ago, it's nothing. Like, who really cares? It's most things becomes quite small compared to it.
Wow. So
So,
stressful situations are more manageable.
yes, for sure. And you find ways to control yourself. Even though if I feel that stress is coming up, I can use the same methods that I used in freediving competitions. I can focus on my breathing instead of focus outwardly on the world, that someone is misbehaving or someone is stressful around me. I can focus the attention inwards instead of focus it outwards, and go into my own breathing and to focus on myself. And that's also been a really big part of this journey. And it's an ongoing practice, of course. Uh,
It sounds very
uh,
much like a meditation.
yeah, freediving is meditation. Like you, it's all meditation pretty much. We call the breathing that we do before a dive, we don't call it meditation, we call it a breathe up. And
Okay.
I think when I was 23, 24, I don't know if I would do it in the same extent if the people said, okay, you have to meditate before you dive, but you say that, okay, you have to do a breathe up before you go into deep diving. And I think that helps. And then of course, later in life, I started to meditate besides this. But freediving is about meditation, because meditation is, especially when you do mindfulness meditation, it's about shifting your focus on one particular thing.
Yes.
Like, so here I'm focusing first on the breathing, and then when I'm starting the dive, I'm focusing on different parts of the dive. Like,
So, Alex, it's
yeah.
one of the reasons that I used to do a lot of rock climbing, is because I would get into that focused, hyper focused state.
Hmm.
People call it the flow state or being in the zone, right? But there were days when I would be trying to climb and my thoughts were scattered. I wasn't present in the moment. And those are the days where I would finally just say, why am I here? It's not worth it today. It's not working, because that's when I make mistakes. And so I just like, hey, if you're not in the zone, don't do the thing, right? If you don't have the mindfulness that you need, then maybe consider revisiting the the attempt, the challenge another day is the way that I feel about it. Have you had days when you were planning to free dive, but you're just too scattered, and you say, you know what, it's not smart. I don't think today's the day.
Yeah, for sure. There are those days where you just don't feel 100%,
Yeah.
and that's also part of the whole journey, where you have to be so self-aware that you were when you were rock climbing, that you know that, okay, this is not the day that I'm gonna do a personal best dive.
Right.
I can still go out and just enjoy the water and do shallow dives, but it would be crazy of me to do my deepest dive ever one of those days, because all days are different, and you can be in a different mind state some days. And because freediving is so mental, you have to be so self-aware. And also, if you haven't slept enough and your body is not
Oh
working as it
yeah.
should, that's another thing. If you consume, then you're consuming more oxygen, and it's also a high risk of having a blackout and having an injury.
Oof. Okay, we've not done this yet, and we need to do this. We've just kind of dived into the topics, but will you take us through a free dive? Tell us everything you do and what you experience in the water, what the light's doing, what the temperatures are doing, what your body is doing. Can you just describe what it's like?
Yeah. So the first thing, I will start with, like, usually it's in the morning. You start preparing in the morning. You go out around 7. Usually don't have any breakfast, because if you want to hold your breath longer, you want to be fasted state.
Oh,
So
okay.
no food. Your belly is using up oxygen yeah,
All right.
when you eat. So of
Yeah.
course you want to be fasted. That's a one thing. So no food before you go out. You swim out with some friends. Usually you have 2 or 3 safeties that you dive with, and then I sit on usually a buoy, a flotation device, and then I just sit there for 5 minutes, and I do this what I was talking about earlier, just breathing from the stomach, very relaxed, just normal breathing. Sometimes I do a little bit longer exhale to relax even more, getting the heart rate lower. And then after 5 minutes, I feel relaxed, and then fill up my lungs, starting from the belly, working my way up. And then I put my face in the water, and I usually close my eyes during the entire dive. So I have my eyes closed. I see just darkness, and I feel the rope. I will go through what we call a free immersion dive. It's when we pull ourselves down and up on the line.
Okay.
So we have a line going straight down. And I pull myself down. I just feel the fabric of the line going down. While I do this, I also have to equalize my ears because of the pressure.
Right.
So I equalize my ears every single meter. I have to pop my ears. I go deeper and deeper, and the deeper I go, when I pass around 20 meters, I start to feel heavier, and I feel that the gravity is taking over. So I can start the free fall. So I do the last pull around 25 or 30 meters. I do my last pull, and I put my arms on my side. And I usually have something called a nose clip, which makes me able to equalize without having to pinch my nose like this. So I just put my hands on my sides, and then I start free falling. And I still keep my eyes closed. And that's also for the reason that I don't get any visual input, so I'm also conserving more oxygen. I'm not seeing anything. So I'm just free falling, and I start to feel that it's getting colder and colder. So for each meter, it's getting colder and colder, and it's going faster and faster. I have a wetsuit on me, but I still feel the water on my hands, my feet, and on my face. And during this free fall, I'm just thinking about equalizing the ears. So I'm shifting my focus just on equalization. Feeling the ears. Do I have pain in my ears? No. Okay, I can continue. I just continue equalizing, focusing on that. And the deeper I go, the more relaxed I get, usually. I'm just becoming more and more relaxed. The heart rate is going slower and slower for each meter. The mammalian dive response is stronger and stronger for each meter that I come down.
Wow. Okay.
And then I have an alarm on my watch that tells me where I'm around 5 meters from where I set the target down at. Say that I went and set the target at 85. I hear the alarm all of a sudden at 80. The best dives are those dives where I'm getting surprised and I'm already there.
Wow.
You were talking about the flow state, and that's the flow state. Time and space works differently. So I get surprised about being already there, and I'm feeling the bottom plate. It's usually a plate where we have the set target, and I'm there. And now I have to start going up again. And I still keep my eyes closed because I don't want to get excited about being down there or anything. I'm just being very present in the here and now, like being very present that, okay, I'm here, and now I have to go up. And on the way up, I usually count to keep my focus on something. Because during the entire dive, I cannot start thinking about, I want to be up there, I want to be breathing. Because if I'm down at 85 meters, it's going to take me at least 1.5 minutes to go back up there. Even if I'm being really fast. And
it's a long time.
The worst thing that I can do down there is to want to be up there.
Right.
Like I really have to be okay being down there because I know it's going to take 1.5 minutes around to go up there. So I'm counting my pulse when I'm going up, and also thanks to being like very narrowed focus on the pulse, I can stay in the present. And the first pulse feels a bit heavy because I had free ride down there. You know, it's a free ride when you have the free fall. Now I have to pay for that on the way up. So I come up, and there again, the best dives are when I'm surprised that I'm already close to the surface. And at one point, I feel that the buoyancy starts changing, and I start feeling that I can float a little bit. That's usually where I'm opening my eyes sometimes, and I see my safety diver. And I can see, they usually meet me at around 25, 30 meters
Mm-hmm.
to see that everything is okay. Open my eyes, and then I know I'm 100% safe now. And then I can just let the buoyancy take me the last 10 meters up, and then I come up, take my recovery breaths, and then um, I've been doing a great dive. It goes faster than it feels like. 85-meter dive like that usually takes around 2.5 or 3 minutes.
You describe it, and I'm like, well, it's like a trip almost. It's a
Yeah,
different life experience. People don't have that life experience in everyday life.
yeah, yeah. It's a very it's an experience that it's hard to describe with words because the words doesn't really make it justice. Uh, because it's also you moving around in a 3D environment. Like you're you're going from positively buoyant to neutral to negatively buoyant, so you're free falling. You're in such a different environment than we're used to.
Right.
So it's a very strange experience that is hard to convey with words. It's a trip, like you said. It's the best. It's a good way to describe it.
The only thing remotely similar that I've ever experienced would have been in a swimming pool, and I I would hold my legs and be in a ball and float with my back bobbing on the surface, and then I would blow out all of my air, and that way I could start to drop because a pretty lean guy. I start to drop and I accelerate because my lungs are completely empty, and you feel that acceleration until you bump into the bottom, which is
Yeah,
just a few seconds, and then spring back up to the top. But I can't imagine the idea. I mean, I felt that acceleration. I get what you're talking about there, but I can't imagine what it would be like to be doing that at 80 meters. I mean,
yeah,
so 80 meters is like 200 and what, 262 in feet?
yeah. Something around there, right?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's like a football field.
yeah,
That's what we're talking about. Almost a football field deep. That's
yeah.
wow. That's something else. So, why? Got to
Why?
ask the big why. Why do it?
Why do it? The the straight answer is because it's so much fun and it's so enjoyable. And I was talking about the free fall. The free fall is the reason why I do it,
Ah,
and that's the most enjoyable part. The free fall and having this experience of being weightless and just also connecting to myself in a way that it's hard to do in doing different activities. Because when you if you meditate and you do different other activities, you can be in that state for a few seconds, maybe
mm,
at the most. But here, like the dive that I described, it you can be there for like 3 minutes, but 3 minutes can feel longer as well. It feels short, but also in the way it feels longer. It's hard to describe, like because you're such. It's a trip. Yeah, you're somewhere else. That's so the answer to why is because it's so enjoyable for me. Like, and it's the activity that I feel takes me to this place of being in the present for the longest periods of time as well.
mm.
Like I think other people that do other extreme sports, they feel similar experiences when they fly with a wingsuit and so on. And here I just tap into that doing freediving.
I have friends who are skydivers, and I've only done that once, but I used to give them a hard time, Alex, because they would say, "Yeah, man, I was flying for like 60 seconds." And being a scuba diver, I'd say, "Yeah, and I was flying for 45 minutes."
Yeah,
And that's the beauty of being underwater, I think, to
yeah,
experience that. I fell in love with it as a kid, and it
Hmm.
sounds like it's something that. So, what is it about being underwater?
The weightlessness for me, that's the biggest part. Being weightless, being able to move in a 3D environment however you want.
Hmm.
You're not pushed down by gravity like we are now when we're just sitting
Yeah.
like this, when we're standing up. Gravity pushing down our shoulders and our feet to the ground. Here, we're free to move however we want. You can probably relate to when you scuba dive. You feel free in a very special way.
Yes.
Uh, you can do so many different things that you cannot do on land, and being able to just fly. It's a very, I think it's one of the closest way you get to flying, and a lot of people's dream is to fly, being able to fly, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And it is for me as well. And underwater, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's the closest I get to that feeling of flying, and that's also why I enjoy the free fall so much, because it feels like flying.
You get the sense of acceleration and soaring, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And also, free diving is a sport where it's like the more you want to go down, the harder it will get to go down.
Oh.
So it's a sport where there's not a lot of big egos, thankfully. Like if you really want to free dive and to go into the sport to break records, or you want to beat other people, you will have quite a hard time, because it's kind of like the ocean will not let you. Like the ocean will not let you
Yes.
go down there, because to be able to go down, you have to be able to let go of this urge of breaking records, or the urge to prove something for someone else. If you do it for that reason, you will hurt yourself and you will not be able to dive that deep.
Well, this is a really silly analogy, but it's like Thor's hammer. You can't pick it up unless you have a pure heart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's on point actually, because I've seen a lot of freedivers trying to get into the sport because they want to prove for someone else that they can do it, or they want to only to take a record or something. Uh, for me, it was never for that reason. I've always wanted to freedom for the reason that I said, to to extend this feeling of the free fall. I, you know,
Yeah.
and I never had on my mind that I would take any national record and a free diving Swedish record or anything.
But you did end up competing and doing quite well at it. So, what led you into free diving competitions?
I was in a free diving place uh, where there was a lot of competitive free divers. I ended up free diving in the Philippines, in Panglao, on a
Wow.
small
Okay.
island close to Cebu, Bohol Island, and in that area there was a lot of competitive free divers, and they had some competitions. And actually, the funny thing is, how I got into competition, it just came to my mind, was I was training in the pool, and there are pool competitions as well in freediving. And this
Okay.
pool competition was cheap. It was cheaper to go into the pool competition than to pay for training in the pool.
Oh. So it's like, okay, I'll compete.
And I was a backpack. I was backpacking around Asia, and I didn't have a lot of money, and so I was just trying to find the cheapest way to train. And I was like, okay, I will just try this competition in the pool, and I did. I didn't really care so much about the result, and then that's how I got into the competition. And I enjoyed the whole scene around it, because in the competitions you meet a lot of other freedivers, and
Right.
it's not so much about setting records or anything. Like, it's more about enjoying each other's company. At least in that kind of competitions where it was not so much. It was not. It was quite a small competition, luckily, that I went into in the beginning. So that's how I got into it. Was because it was cheaper than the training.
Well, and you've been quite successful at it. There are different types of competitions, and I jotted down some notes because I don't know what these are, and I was hoping you could inform me and the rest of the audience here. But your records, let's see. So there's free immersion called FIM, and you did that to 80 meters, 262 feet. That's the only reason I knew what 80 meters was, because I jotted that down. So what is free immersion?
So free immersion is when you pull yourself down on the line.
Okay.
You have a rope. In all the disciplines, you have a rope being attached on the surface on a floating device or a platform, and this line goes straight down, and it's attached to a bottom weight.
Now, do you wear fins? Do you have a mask? Do you have a wetsuit? All those things.
Yeah, in free immersion and in all disciplines, you usually have a wetsuit, and you can have a mask if you want. Most competitive freedivers, they only wear something called a nose clip, so you just have a device that's closing your nose, and that's it pretty much. And then in free immersion, you don't have any fins, so you're free on your feet, and you use the rope to pull yourself down and up on the line.
So that's free immersion. Okay.
That's free immersion, yeah.
Then there's constant weight, CWT. What is this?
So constant weight means that why it's also called constant weight is that the weight that you bring down, you have to bring up as well.
Okay.
So you swim down either with a monofin, it looks like a big dolphin fin.
Okay.
So that you swim down, it's the deepest discipline, and you swim with that, and you go down to the target depth, and then you swim up. And the weight that you bring down, you have to bring up.
Goodness.
That's why it's called constant weight.
So you use a little bit of weight to overcome the buoyancy of your wetsuit or something, but if you use too much weight to accelerate your descent, you have to carry it back up again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of like a personal preference, what people like, if they want to have an easy ride down or if they want to struggle more on the way up,
I don't like the idea of struggling on the way up, and your record is 85 meters. That's amazing. So is it quite different when you have the weight and you have you said a monofin?
Yeah, so when you have the monofin, that's the fastest discipline. And the dive that I went through when I was explaining how the dive went, that was an example of free immersion. So with the monofin, you go really fast. It's around 1 meter per second.
Okay.
So it's quite easy to calculate how long the dive will take. And when you turn around from the bottom, you can go quite fast up. Like if you don't feel like it down there, you can sprint up. So that discipline is less mentally demanding, I would say, than other disciplines.
Okay.
Because the free immersion discipline, where you have to pull yourself up,
right,
that's quite slow. You can only pull yourself that fast.
Right.
But with the monofin, you can kind of sprint your way up, and the breath hold will not be that long.
Yeah, but you're also using your muscles.
You're using more muscles, yeah. Yeah, and you need to have quite a good technique as well.
Interesting. Okay, there are two more here. There is CNF with no fins. Is that constant weight as well, or what is that?
Yeah, that's also constant weight. So all these disciplines that we compete in is in constant weight. So the weight that you bring down, you have to also bring up.
Okay.
And CNF stands for constant weight no fins. And that's another word for swimming breaststroke, the way down and the way up.
So you're using your arms now instead of the fin to propel yourself.
So you do like a breaststroke technique, and with that you will, and that's the shallowest discipline. The world record there is it's now 103 meters.
Wow.
It's really deep, and that discipline is the most physically and mentally demanding, I would say, as well. Like, it's really, you need to have such a good technique to be able to do that deep.
And then there's CWTB. That's
Yes.
constant weight with bifins is what? Yeah, so explain that one.
So that would be like the constant weight with monofin, but you just put on bifins instead. So you will put on like snorkeling fins, but usually in freediving we have longer fins.
Okay.
So the freediving fins are longer, and you use that to propel yourself down.
And so your deepest depth was with the constant weight monofin at 85 meters, right?
Yeah.
And then the no fins constant weight is your shallower depth. Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is free immersion.
Free
Free
immersion.
immersion, just also pulling myself down and up on the line. That would be my favorite, just because I really enjoy being able to like close my eyes and going inwards more.
Right.
That's what I enjoy most now, and to have these really long dives. And with the monofin, it's more technique, and you need your eyes open to be able to see where you are at the line and so on.
Right.
You still have to swim. So with free immersion, it's more, for me, it's more of an inward journey, an outward journey.
Okay.
There's quite a cheesy saying in freediving. Scuba divers dive mostly to look around, and free divers dive to look within. I don't know if you heard that.
No, that's good though. I get that. Yes.
Yeah. So for me, it's a lot about closing my eyes and turning inwards when I free dive. And with free immersion, I'm more allowed to do that.
Wow, what a sport. If people would like to take lessons from you, and you do courses and coaching and workshops, and you reach out to people in a lot of ways, what's the best way that they can reach you?
It will be through the website, alexanderfreediver.com, or my email, alexanderfreediver@gmail.com.
Okay.
Those two. And then I have an Instagram, Alexander Freediver, there as well. So one of those three. Right now I'm based in Stockholm in Sweden, where I'm teaching some courses in the quarry.
Wow.
But I'm doing online courses as well. So that's
Interesting. So I was going to ask you that too. I mean, the water around Sweden is cold.
yeah.
Do you do a lot of free diving there? Because in the stories, you were in the Philippines or you were in the Med, or something like that.
Yeah. So, freediving in Sweden is quite hard. For courses, it can be hard, but when we freedive here in the summer, we go usually to a quarry where we can get around like 40 meters. And the visibility is around, you can see your hand pretty much. That's
Wow.
it.
Okay.
So
You might as well keep your eyes closed.
you keep your eyes closed. That's maybe why I like keeping my eyes closed. I'm so used to it.
Right.
And in the winter, here in Sweden, it gets really cold, and the water is around 2 or 3 degrees plus Celsius. And we do ice diving then, actually. So we make 2 holes in the ice, and then we swim from one hole to another. So we swim under the ice instead.
Do you have a line or something to make sure you don't get lost?
Yeah, we have a line. We usually make this hole around 20 meters apart from each hole, and then we have a line that we follow, and we have a line yard. We have a line that we attach to the line, so someone can bring us up if something happens. But it's the most dangerous thing that you can do in freediving, of course.
Yeah.
So I would really not encourage anyone doing it if you're not taking care of the safety precautions before. I can tell you a brief story of what happened to a friend of mine, just so people know how careful they should be.
Okay.
So this was a few years back here in Sweden, in one of these quarries, and I was not with him. He's also an instructor. He went there with his brother, who had done like the beginner freediving course. So they went to this quarry. They made 2 holes, and he told his brother that he would swim from one hole to the other, and he would do breaststroke, so he wouldn't have any fins on.
Okay.
And they didn't have a line going from one hole to another.
Yikes.
And so instead, they attached a rope on his waist.
Okay.
So they put a rope on his waist, and then he started to do the dive. He took his breath, and he started to go. And just 2 meters away from the other hole, he realized that the rope was too short.
Oh, no.
So he realized that he couldn't come any further. And he was tugging on the line to tell his brother to release the rope.
Right.
And after a few tugs, his brother didn't release the rope. So he started to swim back. But at this point, his brother actually released the rope. He didn't have any good point to go back to. So he started to swim back, and he ran out of air. And then he had a blackout under the ice sheets.
Oh, no. What happened?
So there he blacked out, and his brother was super stressed, and he was walking around on the ice. And he looked down, and luckily he saw the rope, and he grabbed the rope that he saw under the ice, and he pulled him back up.
Goodness.
And at this point, he had been under the ice for a minute or two, and they tried to wake him up. And they did what I was saying in the beginning. They put off his facial equipment. They did blow, tap, talk. Tapped on his cheeks and blowed and said his name. He didn't wake up. There were some scuba divers on the lake doing scuba diving excursions. Okay. And they ran to the site and they started to do CPR on him. So they were doing CPR for a few minutes. They called the ambulance. And just by the time the ambulance arrived, he started to coughing.
Oh, wow.
And he came by. After they said it was around 7 minutes, he came by.
Wow.
It's the longest blackout that I've ever heard about. Usually you don't survive that.
That's terrifying.
You've been blacked out too long. Yeah.
So word to the wise, don't do this unless you really know what you're doing. Wow.
Yeah. And be really careful even if you think that you know what you're doing.
Goodness.
Yeah.
You know, we used to try to see if we could swim the length of an Olympic pool both ways underwater. And I tell you, by the time you get back to where you started, you know, it's very active. It's not so meditative like you're talking about because you're swimming with a breaststroke and trying to do your best. And man, it is so hard, those last 10 meters.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
You know, or even 5 meters. And then you finally get to take a breath. But being under the ice.
Yeah. Because
I can't imagine.
Under the ice as well. But for me, it's a good mental training, because if you're under the ice, even how badly you want to breathe, you can't breathe.
Right.
You have to be okay with wherever you are. You have to be okay with being under the ice sheets. And the more you're okay with being there, the easier it will get as well.
The easier it gets. There's a real mental attribute to this.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And I think that is also something that I will, because you asked earlier how this also translates to other parts of life.
Yes.
The okayness with everything, like what I said with being in the airport and, you know, the flight is delayed and everything. When you're okay with when stuff happens,
yes,
the stress goes away. So for anyone listening, if to take something away from this interview or this chat that we've had, I think a good thing is to be okay with stuff. Even like saying okay to different life situations. That's what helped me a lot. And that is really helping me being able to calm down even in stressful situations.
That's a beautiful place to wrap up. I love that. What a good summary of the whole thing. And I also love what you're saying. I mean, you can make a little mantra out of that. Just be okay. Be okay with it.
Be okay with it. Yeah.
It's okay.
It will be okay. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Well, that's beautiful. Alex, thank you so much for sharing your sport with us. You know, and once again, the website is alexanderfreediver.com. I don't know why that's a tongue twister, but for me it is. And also Instagram, all the rest. I don't remember what's your handle on Instagram?
Alexander Freediver. It's Alexander Freediver everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, then we've got it. All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much again for taking the time today to share your sport with us.
Yeah. Thanks, Curt.
And for all of those out there, the breath work, the mindfulness, being in the flow state. I mean, if all these things are appealing to you, maybe explore this. It seems like an extreme sport when you can't breathe while doing your sport, but I totally get it. And until the next show, please do get out there and have some fun. Be safe.